This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, October 3rd, 2005, and this is episode number 7 for Walt Disney World Today. I'm your host, Matt Hochberg from MGMstudios.org, and here with us for this show is trip planning guru Mike Scopa from MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Matt.
We've also got Len Testa, co-author of the unofficial guide to the Walt Disney World and the brains behind TouringPlans.com. Welcome to the show, Len.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Pretty good. Well, folks, we've got a special offer for all our Walt Disney World Today listeners. Len, why don't you tell them about it?
Well, since both Mike and I are going to be in Walt Disney World next week, we thought it'd be neat for our listeners to write in with a question or a comment or something that we can research while we're there, and we will try and get the answer for you live from the parks during our next show. So if you have a question about a menu somewhere or a ride, an attraction, a resort, let us know, and we will get the answer for you and broadcast back from the location itself.
That's right. It's the Walt Disney World Today Call for Help show. So send all of your questions to questions@wdwtoday.com. You'll find a link on the website where you can send them if you don't have access to your email necessarily where you listen to the podcast. And send us all your questions, and Len will answer all of them, no matter...
All of them. How about three? 3 questions. Give me one question a day. I have some work to do while I'm there.
All right. So we'll talk to you, Len, on Friday.
And if I'll give priority to those questions that involve back rubs or massages. Go ahead. Or food. Go ahead.
And daytime parades.
And daytime parades, exactly.
Well, today we're going to debate the advantages and pitfalls of staying on Disney property versus staying off Disney property while in Walt Disney World. Now, throughout the show, we're going to be referring to staying on Disney property as on property and staying at non-Disney hotels as staying off property. So let's start with what makes the world go round, and of course that's money. Financially speaking, what should we consider when choosing to stay on or off property?
I think the first thing you want to consider is how much money you have to spend and whether you're going to be renting a car. If you're not going to rent a car, if you can't rent a car, then it's much more convenient for you to stay on site than off. I think the reason for that, Mike, back me up here if I'm wrong, but you're either going to be relying on the hotel's shuttle service to get you back and forth between the parks or a cab. And usually hotel shuttle services don't run as frequently as Disney services, perhaps every hour or so. And so if you just miss that bus, you could be waiting at a bus stop for about an hour.
Every hour or so would be a good service, I think.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, maybe it's a couple times a day. Actually, I think Downtown Disney does it every hour or so. But if it's like the Holiday Inn in East Kissimmee or something, it could only be a couple times a day, like morning, noon, and night. And then once if you miss that last bus, of course, you're on your own to find your way back.
I'm going to ask Mike what he thought about the financial aspect of staying on-site or off-site.
Well, there's a lot of things to consider. Len was talking about transportation issues with shuttles and stuff, and I see time as being money. And I think that if you are on the property, your proximity to the park saves you time and saves you money. I think that a lot of people don't realize that there are certain aspects of staying on the property that does save you money. Like if you are renting a car and staying on the property, you do not have to pay for parking, although if you're an AP holder, I guess you can also get by with not paying that $7 or whatever it is these days to park in the resorts. There are some things that are obvious when you're staying on the property. If you have the ability to pay something other than a rack rate, if you have an annual pass and you can get a good rate, that's something that you should consider. I think that when you look at off-property hotels, there are all kinds of benefits that you can get as far as discounts that you may not be able to get when you're on the property. That is, there are several hotel chains that may offer special discounts depending upon which group you belong to, AARP, AAA. There are all kinds of avenues for discounts that you may not find on the property.
Yeah, that's true. There's also, I think, cheaper food options outside of Walt Disney World too. So if you've got a lot of hungry mouths to feed, you're definitely going to find less expensive options outside of Walt Disney World.
How about free breakfast?
Free breakfast, that's true. Some resorts have free breakfast too. Sure, a lot of places do, or cheap or inexpensive continental breakfasts.
There's another
definitely
thing,
the way to go there.
How about some of the off-property hotels offer discounts on the other Orlando attractions? You're not going to get that at a Disney resort.
There are other Orlando attractions.
We won't talk about
heresy.
that.
Heresy.
Hey Len, let's think outside the book.
I'm sorry. You know what it sounded like you said there for a second? It's really funny. You're going to laugh when I tell you. Now, I think one of the other things I think about on-site versus off-site, just in terms of sheer expenses, when you're going during peak times, like that week between Christmas and New Year, the rack rates for places like even the All-Star Resorts or Pop Century, you're looking at above $150 a night, and for that, you can find a much better room at downtown Disney for a lot less money. So, for example, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, when I actually had to do data collection in the parks, it was, I think the rate we were quoted for one of the All-Star Resorts was $179 a night, and I ended up staying at the Hilton for $105 a night, and trust me, the Hilton is a much better room in downtown Disney than any of the All-Star Resorts could be.
Busier time of the year, I think the off-site becomes a more financially sound choice.
Yeah, especially downtown Disney with the Hilton, because they still participate in the Extra Magic Hours program.
Well, you mentioned the Extra Magic Hours, Len, and one of the advantages of staying on property is the perks that you get, such as Extra Magic Hours, and Mike hit upon the free parking. There's also some other perks like guaranteed entry and some other nifty little extras. Is it worth it, though?
I guess it depends upon the person. There are people who like to use one route to charge things. If you stay on the property, you can charge everything, your meals, your souvenirs, to your room. You can also send your package to your room if you're not leaving within, I think it's 36 hours or something like that, or 48 hours.
At least 24, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess it depends upon how much convenience means to each and every guest, Matt. I think that's a key thing right there.
One of the other advantages of staying on property is the convenience factor, especially now with Disney's Magical Express.
Oh, you said it. Who's going to bring that up?
Go ahead, Len.
I'm just saying. It's actually gotten a lot better, but early on it wasn't that great. But right now I hear they're transporting 5,000 people per day, mostly successfully. It's really improved. For those of you who don't know, Matt, I'm sure you want to explain it. It's the free bus service between Orlando International Airport and Walt Disney World.
Sure. The Disney Magical Express, of course, is a free program that's running during the 50th anniversary of Disney World. Basically what it is that if you fly with select airlines to Orlando International Airport, you have a nifty little service where you check in your bags in your home airport. Disney then takes care of your bags, and they'll transport them for you. And the next time you'll see them is when you arrive in your hotel room, and you don't have to pick up them at baggage claim and deal with all that hassle. You just get off the airplane, move through the terminal, get on a Disney bus, which is included, it's free, and they'll bring you to the resort. It has its benefits. And
they'll bring you back to. Did I tell you what movie they were playing the first time I tried it out during the Soarin' grand opening?
What was
that?
So,
they're playing movies on the bus, right? So to entertain you during the ride.
Yep.
So the movie they were showing me was Shrek.
What a great Disney classic.
Minor oversight here. I don't recall Walt ever talking about this one, but okay. Yeah, it's really not a bad service. They seem to have ironed out all of most of the kinks in it. The one thing we would advise people though is because you're not touching your luggage once you drop it off at your home airport. If there's anything that you absolutely need, like medication or a change of clothes or diapers or anything like that, put that in a carry-on bag and don't let that bag out of your sight, because as soon as you drop off those bags, you may not see them again for a day.
And, of course, you're also saving, $80 at least if you take a cab to and from the airport?
Yeah, it depends on the cab and the service. I know, like most town car services, with tax and tip, you're looking at like a $105, $110 round trip service, and this is free, so you can imagine when people get the choice between $110 and free, what they choose. This hasn't been a real big hit with the Livery Association, the limousine and town car companies in the Orlando airport, who I think are suing Disney every week for some reason or another. Surprisingly, and I don't know what this is, I'm not going to get on a rant or talk about it much more, but the one thing that I thought they would do that they haven't done is lower their prices. It's still $95 for Tiffany Town Car, for example, to pick up. And when you're competing against free, you would think that if there's any way you can charge less, that you would. It'll be interesting to see how many of those companies actually survive until the end of 2006.
Yeah, I expected to see the prices drop too, Len, and I'm really surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I like the service and all of a town car, and at $80, I could sort of rationalize it almost, but when you're looking at $105 for, again, competing with free, that's difficult. And $105 is right around the price that you can get a compact car for a few days, especially if you're using the discount code from Mouse Savers. So, when it's a one-time round trip versus having a car versus free, the town cars are stuck between the rock and the hard place there. So, but anyway, back to the hotels.
Let's settle this, I guess. I mean, all things being equal, assuming we're not going during July 4th or Christmas or some dead time of the year like the middle of February that isn't President's Week, is it the smarter choice to stay on site? What's your personal preferences?
Well, that's a tough one. Again, it depends upon how much you value your time. With me, time is very important when I'm down there. The proximity to the theme parks, the proximity to the other resorts, things I like to do, I like to squeeze in as much time as possible. And going to and from an off-site hotel may be a little bit too much for me most of the time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that I think for me, Matt, it's time, because time, I can't put a price on time.
For me, it was more like when we brought my daughter for the first time. She was 4.5, and my wife almost insisted that we stay at a monorail resort by the Magic Kingdom because we knew we were going to be spending most of our time in the Magic Kingdom. And once your kids get tired, you can hear the tick 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 going off before they start getting really 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 cranky. Right. So we wanted to be no more than 10 or 15 minutes from nap time. Did I say kids? I meant me. I meant me getting cranky.
Matt.
Okay, so
Len brings up a good point. You bring up a very good point, Len, and that is if you have a young family, it may behoove you to stay on the property because you need a break during the day. Yeah. Whereas if you're staying off the property, you're coming in the morning and you're staying all day. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're staying at the Gaylord Palms or something, it's an hour. Because you got, especially at the Magic Kingdom, where you got to take the tram. Where you got to go park to ferry to tram to car to hotel, and you got to get something to eat and all other stuff. I mean, I think if it's if this is your first trip with your kids, and they're young, if you got to save up an extra year, for it, I would say delay the trip and if you can at all, stay at one of the Magic Kingdom resorts.
Len, you brought up a point that I wanted to briefly bring up about staying on, for instance, a monorail resort or perhaps the Animal Kingdom Lodge or one of the upscale resorts. And my question is, how do you rationalize spending the money that's required to stay on any of those resorts, regardless of the time of the year, considering that most of the time you're going to be spending in the parks? Most families use their hotels for sleep, really. What should people consider when, what resort to pick in terms of, is it worth it to stay at a resort like on one of the monorail ones, or is it better suited to stay at the Hilton, like you said, and save some money?
I think it's going to come down to it's going to come down to convenience and amount of time you're going to spend in the park. If you're staying for 10 days, I think the difference between a monorail resort and the Hilton downtown is going to be a considerable amount of money. You got to ask whether it's worth that. But for a long weekend, a 3, 4, 5 day trip, it is really, really, really easy to leave the Magic Kingdom, walk over to the Contemporary, take a nap, and walk back. And I'm telling you, the first time you do it, you'll never want to stay anywhere else. I mean, the room is truly a room. I think the Disney hotels do a pretty decent job at theming. Overall, the service is pretty good. I think they're pretty good hotel rooms, especially the new ones at the Contemporary. In terms of picking a hotel, though, I had a hard time because this upcoming week, actually, I've never stayed at the Yacht Club. It was available this week. I know it's it in the Dolphin, right? We're the only hotels that I haven't stayed at. But the Yacht Club was $457 a night. I couldn't do it, and really I was spending Bob's money. Yeah, which was tough. I couldn't bring myself to blow $450 a night on a hotel room. I ended up at the Swan for I think $129. So the $457 was a lot for just a standard room at the Yacht Club.
Well, that's it for us today. This has been episode number 7 of Walt Disney World Today.
My God, can I talk anymore? Go ahead, keep going.
The amazing talking head.
I'm comforted in the fact that Mike is watching the baseball game, so go ahead. Anyway, so I have to apologize for that. Go ahead.
Be sure to visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com for the show notes, as well as the ability to send us all your comments about this podcast. And please be sure to send us all your questions to questions@wdwtoday.com. As always, you can look for new shows on Mondays and Fridays of every week. For Glenn Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you next show.